Ever wondered what really happens to your body decades after you're buried? Forget resting in peace. A macabre process begins underground, turning everything we know about eternal slumber into a horrifying reality. Prepare for a truth that will shock you. The world fades, or so it seems. But the moment life leaves your body, a completely different, far more gruesome process begins. This isn't rest. It's the start of a grand, invisible operation. A chain of events unfolds beneath the earth, transforming your familiar form into something unrecognizable. First, the heart stops forever. Blood no longer flows. Oxygen ceases. And that's when the irreversible mechanism kicks in. Cells deprived of sustenance begin to die, one by one. Watch as the body rapidly cools. This is Algor mortis. The temperature drops until it matches the surroundings. Then, after a couple of hours, another change begins. Muscles, relaxed after death, start to stiffen. This is rigor mortis. It grips the body gradually, from the face to the fingertips, constricting it, making it rigid as stone. But that's not all. Gravity also plays a part. Blood, no longer circulating, begins to pool in the lower parts of the body. Gruesome purple-red blotches appear, liver mortis. They show how the blood has accumulated, permanently staining the skin. And these are just the first hours, just the first steps in a terrifying journey. What seems like the end is actually just the prologue to unimaginable transformations. And it's only the beginning of what awaits your body next. Think your body just lies there in the ground? What if I told you that within hours, it's actively being devoured by unseen predators, whose work triggers truly horrific changes that no one wants to talk about? After those first hours, when the body stiffens and changes color, the real nightmare begins. It's the work of invisible but incredibly active creatures. Billions of bacteria that lived inside us in life now become our primary executioners. They were always there, in the gut, waiting for their moment. Once the immune system shuts down, these microorganisms start feasting. They attack cells from within, decomposing them, releasing gases. The body begins to bloat, changing shape. This is due to methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases produced by bacteria. The smell becomes unbearable, pervasive. And that's just the beginning. Then come the external helpers, flies. They can smell decomposition from miles away. They lay their eggs in the body's natural orifices, eyes, nose, mouth, open wounds. These eggs hatch into larvae or maggots, thousands, tens of thousands. They begin to actively devour soft tissues, literally gnawing their way through flesh. This accelerates the decomposition process tenfold. Maggots aren't just worms, they're true processing machines. They work in concert like a vast army, methodically destroying everything in their path. In a few days, they can turn a significant portion of the body into liquid sludge. It's not a sight for the faint of heart. And that's not all that awaits the body in this gruesome underground laboratory. Think decomposition is a slow process? I'll show you how. In just a few weeks, all that remains of a complex human body are bones. But what happens to the flesh as it disappears? That's the most terrifying part of the story. After the hordes of bacteria and maggots have done their gruesome work, the next stage arrives. It's the moment when soft tissues seem to disappear forever. Imagine what was once a living body, full of muscles and organs, is reduced to something resembling outlines. This is skeletonization. It doesn't happen instantly. It's a gradual but relentless process. First, the most delicate tissues disappear. internal organs, muscles. Bacteria and insects continue their work, but now at a different level. They reach the deepest layers. After several weeks, sometimes months, depending on the conditions, only the bony frame remains of the former body. It's both terrifying and fascinating. Bones that were once hidden beneath skin and flesh are now exposed. They become witnesses to a life that has passed. But even the skeleton isn't eternal. Over time, it too begins to break down. First, the cartilage disappears, then the smallest and most fragile bones. Under the influence of moisture, temperature, and chemicals in the soil, the bones gradually lose their structure. They become brittle, crumble. Imagine that after years, all that remains of the human form as we knew it is a collection of scattered bones, and sometimes nothing at all, just dust. This is the finale of what begins in the first hours after death. It's a reminder of the fragility of our existence and how relentlessly nature works. But that's not all. Even bones can hold surprises. We think a coffin is the final resting place, protection from the outside world. But what happens to it underground when it's lowered is shocking, and it completely changes the idea of the protection it's supposed to provide. We're used to thinking that a coffin is the ultimate protection, a sturdy box shielding the body from the earth. But it itself becomes part of the gruesome process, and sometimes even accelerates it. A wooden coffin quickly gives way. Damp soil, bacteria, fungi, everything destroys the wood. In just a few years, all that's left is rot. The body that was protected is now in direct contact with the earth. Oxygen, moisture, microorganisms, everything drastically accelerates decomposition. It's like trying to hide from a storm in a leaky boat. But if the coffin is metal or airtight, the story changes. At first, decomposition slows down. There's no air. But this is an illusion. Inside, an ideal environment is created for anaerobic bacteria. They begin their specific work. Sometimes, in such conditions, something strange happens. The body can turn into grave wax or adipocere. Fats change, becoming a waxy, soapy substance. The outline of the body is preserved, but it looks grotesque and unnatural. Even the most durable coffin isn't eternal. After decades, the pressure of the earth, metal corrosion, soil movement, everything destroys it. And then the body, perhaps partially preserved, is once again at the mercy of nature. A coffin is not a cradle. More often than not, it's just a temporary trap. What if I told you that 99% of our ideas about decomposition are wrong? After all, some bodies disappear in a matter of years, while others, after 1,000 years, look almost untouched. This information will change your view of eternal rest. We've already seen how the body decomposes, but nature is unpredictable. Sometimes it decides not just to destroy, but to preserve, or change beyond recognition. And it depends on one thing: environmental conditions. Imagine a swamp, acidic, cold, oxygen-free. Here, bacteria work differently. Decomposition slows down. The body can turn into a bog mummy. The skin darkens, becomes tanned. Soft tissues are preserved. We've found bodies like this that are thousands of years old. They look almost whole. Terrifying. And what about the desert, or very dry air? Where there is no moisture, the body doesn't rot. It dries out. Water evaporates and tissues harden. This is natural mummification. The skin becomes like parchment. The person turns into something like a statue. Sometimes, in conditions of humidity and without oxygen, body fat turns into adipocere. This is grave wax, a waxy substance. It can preserve the shape of the body for decades or longer. Nature seems to be canning the person, turning them into a marble statue. These cases show how diverse the paths of decomposition are. It's not just destruction, it's a transformation, depending on temperature, humidity, and soil chemistry. Gruesome but amazing secrets of the underworld. They make us rethink everything. 50 years underground isn't eternal rest, but an endless transformation. When archaeologists carefully uncover what remains, they are faced with a truth that makes the heart sink. After all, what they find isn't just remains. It's a gruesome but incredibly eloquent testimony to what really happens when we're gone. 50 years, a whole half-century. What remains of a person who once lived, breathed, loved? When archaeologists carefully work with the earth, they're faced with a gruesome but undeniable truth. In most cases, all that remains of the body is a skeleton, whole if you're lucky, or scattered, fragile bones mixed with earth. Bones, teeth, these are the most resistant parts. Tooth enamel, the hardest substance in the body, can last for millennia. But bones, although they seem strong, eventually become brittle. They absorb moisture from the soil, lose organic matter, and turn into minerals. Sometimes their shape is distorted by the pressure of the earth. But what if the conditions were special? If it was a swamp, then archaeologists can find almost whole, mummified bodies. Skin, hair, even internal organs. All this can be preserved. It's incredible, but gruesome. Or, in a dry desert, the body turns into a natural mummy, dried out but recognizable. Imagine that every found fragment of bone, every tooth, every detail is part of a story. Archaeologists can learn about a person's age, their illnesses, injuries, even their diet. The skeleton becomes a book written by time and nature. After 50 years, we see not a person, but their echo. Silent but eloquent testimony that life is just a moment. And then another story begins. A story of decay, transformation, and return to the earth. It's a gruesome truth that makes you think about a lot. This terrifying truth is just the beginning. If you don't want to miss the next shocking secrets that we'll reveal on Mysteries of the Spirit, subscribe now and hit like if you dared to watch to the very end.